everybody, we're looking at number 3. What is the volume of the solid figure in cubic feet? Show your work. We have two approaches that we can take here. One approach is we can pretend that we have the entire prism, and if we do it that way, then if we pretend we have the entire prism, we would be multiplying 9, which would be the length, times 6.5, which would be the width, times 4.5, which would be the height, and you would get some number, right? So you'll figure that out on your calculator and write that number down. Now, you would have to take the volume of the cutout, which we know the length would be 6.5. And why do we know that? Because if this is 6.5, then this is 6.5. We would have to infer the height on this thing. Actually, no, we don't have to infer because they tell you. The height's right here, 1.5. That's this line right here is 1.5, which means the height of this thing is 1.5. And they're nice enough to tell us that the width on this thing is 3. So just to show you where this number is coming from, if this is 3, this is 3, this is 3, this is 3. So if you find the volume of the red figure by multiplying these dimensions together, right, 6.5 times 3 times 1.5, then you'll have some number. And if you subtract those two numbers, then you'll get the answer. Now, if that approach doesn't work for you, then let's look at method 2. Method 2 is we can break this thing up into two separate rectangular prisms. But unfortunately, if you do it that way, there's a little more inferring that you need to do. If we're figuring out the dimensions of the blue prism, remember to find the volume, we need to do length times width times height. So we know that this dimension here would be 6.5. And why do we know that? Because all the lines that are parallel to each other, so I'll just highlight that in yellow. If that's 6.5, so is this, so is this, so is this, and so is this. Now, the dimension that we have to infer the length of this line. And what do we know about that line? We know that this whole thing would be 9, and they're telling us that this piece here is 3. So if we subtract out the 3 from the 9, that's going to give us this piece of 6. The other thing we might have to infer is the height, by the way. So the numbers that we're going to be multiplying together for the blue one would be 6 times 6.5 times 4.5. So length times width times height. If we're going to go ahead and find the volume of the green prism, we know that one of the dimensions is 6.5. We know that the width on this thing is 3. That's this line right here. But we would have to infer the height of this thing. And when we infer that, we know that this whole line is 4.5. And we know that this little nugget right here, in fact, let me highlight that in yellow. This little nugget is 1.5. So if we add the 1.5, right, that little piece, with this piece right here, those two numbers have to add up to be 4.5. So that means we could subtract these two numbers to get this dimension, which is 3. So to find the volume of the green prism, we would be multiplying this times this times this, and you're going to come up with some number. Now, in this case, you'd be adding this number and this number to get the volume of the whole thing. Up here, you're actually going to be subtracting if you're doing it this way, because this is not part of it. So choose which way you like better. Maybe do it both ways just to make sure you get the same answer. And hopefully you'll see one of the choices here in your lineup of your work. All right, excellent. Good luck finishing that up.